Hello and welcome to my channel of trauma healing and self-growth with Claudine. Today in the studio I have a couple that is here to share their personal journey in their relationship. We don't see this kind of relationship most of the time, and I believe by sharing their stories we will learn a lot from interrelationship and marriages between different races. And by doing that, by sharing your journey with us, we are looking at inspiring and learning that racism is learned and how we can all live in harmony by respecting each other's and value each other's values as human beings. So without taking longer, let's dive in. Welcome.
Thank you.
To the
Thanks for having
studio.
us,
You're
Claudine.
welcome. Who are you guys? Tell us about yourselves.
Oh, my name is Monik, and born in Victoria. My parents are from India originally. They immigrated to Victoria just a few years before I was born. And
Cool.
here I am.
How about you?
Hi, I'm Eileen, and I moved from Ghana originally. We met in Ghana, and here I am today. So I've lived here for about almost 15 years, I would say. Yeah, that's how long I've been in Victoria.
Okay. And how did you guys meet? Do you mind tell us your story?
Who wants to go?
Go ahead.
How did we meet? So I've known Mike for quite some time now. I met Mike in my home country, Ghana, West Africa, and I think that was in 2004, I would say, right? He was a young guy from school, young Indian, handsome guy, living his life, his best dream. And I think he worked with a Canadian organization called CCFC, which is Canadian Children Fund. No, Christian Children Fund of Canada, CCFC, as an intern, I believe, and that's when I know. But then I didn't know Manik that much. I just knew him because he was going out with somebody else that was friends with my friend, and that's how I knew him. And then the Manik left, came back in 2006, and we started going out, and here we are. It's now how many years? I don't know. More than 15 years, and yeah.
And how long have you been married?
So we've been married, I would say. The reason why I asked you that question is because today is actually 15 years since we got married on paper.
Happy anniversary. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we got married 15 years ago, but we actually had a wedding in Canada. That was 2011. So that's how long we've been married.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question goes to you, Manny.
Sure.
What attracted to each other?
Well, I can speak for me at least. She was gorgeous. I mean, and still is. Yeah, that was the first thing. And then we started talking. We were living in different cities at the time. So most of our relationship was online through chat and text and phone. And I don't know, we just vibed really well. I found she was really sweet and kind and generous, and I just liked all those good qualities about her, and we continued.
Yeah, speaking of generous, knowing her for so many years as my friend, I can speak on that as well, how generous she is. She's a good friend.
She sure is.
I can tell stories and stories. You don't even remember the stories, but I remember you're the first person who got to me at the hospital when I had my daughter. I called you. I don't know what you were doing. You just within seconds you were there. So I never remember. I forget that. And my other story I can tell. I remember when I was moving, when I was going in the midst of my divorce and stuff. I called you and I was like, Eileen, I need to move and I don't have movers. What happened next? You showed up. You had your baby in your back like African lady. You brought money with you and you carried my stuff and went on. So those are the stories, that the memories I share by knowing you. I know how generous you are. And it's good to have such friends like you. So
Thank you.
my next question, I want to ask you, I will start with you, Manik, as a family that is branded, how do you navigate your daily routine and different culture identity in your daily life?
Me first?
Yes, please.
Well, I think in our daily life, it doesn't play too much of a role because we're just busy. We have kids and we're going to work and getting the kids ready and making their lunch and getting them to bed and all of that. So the day-to-day stuff isn't too big a deal. But throughout the year, different holidays and events come up, and we do our best to recognize them.
Right.
So Ghana's Independence Day, none of my kids' friends know about it, but we try to celebrate it.
Right.
Meanwhile, there are certain Indian holidays that we also try and celebrate to keep them connected to both sides of their family.
So my next question for you, Eileen, are there any particular cultural traditions or customs that from your own perspective, both of your respective backgrounds, that you have incorporated into your daily relationship or home life? Like,
Yeah, I would say yes. And there's a lot of similarities with Indian culture, and because they do a lot of celebrations every time, and it's the same in Ghana. For Malik's side, because he has his parents here, it's more easy for us to gravitate towards the Indian festival, like festive or anything that has to be celebrated. We tend to gravitate towards that because I'm just somewhat here by myself. But like you said before, when it comes to the Ghana independence, which we've started celebrating, like we take them. And Christmas is a big thing in Ghana for us. And as growing up as a Christian, we value Christmas a lot. And I do remember, like, I don't know if you remember me saying this, but Christmas was the time I get a new dress growing up, right? Christmas was the time that I got that new hairdo, like that new dress and stuff. And so that is very big. And that's one thing that I would say, even though it's common, but it's something from Ghana that I can see that we've incorporated here, which is just the gifting aspect of it. Even though sometimes you can also debate that it's kind of a little bit too much in here when it comes to Christmas. But yes, that's one of the things that, I would say we celebrate here.
Now, my next question, it's my favorite one. So, especially you who's here just by yourself and your husband is here with the family. What has been the response from your in-laws, from your extended family, from your husband, related to you as being from somebody that comes from a different race? Like, how did they welcome you in their family?
So, that's an interesting question, because I honestly did not know that it was a no-no to see an Indian guy with a black person. I did not know that. I honestly didn't know. And so when I started hearing that and knowing that and experiencing how it is so unnormal or unreal to see a black person with an Indian guy, if it was a little bit of a fairer color, like I would call a white person, it's different. But even me, black, it was a no-no thing. And then I get to realize that when I see people stare at me at the temple, or people looking at me in a strange way, and I'm wondering, why are people looking at me? But that's because I was different. And I'm a different breed of human being, because I'm very loud, I'm tall, you can see me from anywhere, right? Fortunately for me, even though that was a no-no, that to see a black person with an Indian guy, I did not get that from home. It wasn't like a no-no to me. It was different. And credit to mom and dad, like, even if I have any misunderstanding or something that we don't agree on, it is not because I'm from a different culture. So that's the good thing for me. So maybe if I had already felt the resistance from them even before I got here, then I can say, oh, it was a difficult thing. I never had that. But I know for me, black girl married to a white guy, I know it's a no-no. However, it's becoming normal. So that's the thing. I never experienced anything bad from my in-laws or my immediate in-laws. Again, if anybody was faking it, then they were very good at faking it, because I still haven't seen anything. Yes, human beings in general, we do disagree with people, right? So me having disagreements with anybody or not feeling something with somebody in his side of the family, that is different. But to say them not agreeing to us being together, I did not see that. and I didn't experience. So lucky me.
You're a very lucky girl.
Yeah.
My next question for you, Manik. I want to ask you how, as a couple, do you manage potential cultural differences in your family when it comes to family expectations, traditions, or celebrations?
Yeah, when you ask that question, it makes me think of. Can I tell the story when we got married? And like, there's a big difference between our two cultures.
Go for it.
Can I tell this?
Of course,
Okay.
yeah.
I know what it is.
So in her culture, the man pays a bride price to the woman.
In my culture too.
Yeah. So, but in my culture, it's separate. It's opposite, sorry.
Oh.
So that's a huge thing. So my parents, we all, our family said, don't worry about it. We don't have to do it. But
Okay.
for her extended family, it's different. It's really means a lot.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
that was hard
It's huge
for
in all
me.
cultures.
Yeah. There was no option not to do it.
Exactly.
So that was hard for me to understand because we said, don't worry about it, forget it. It's just a silly culture.
Mhm.
But it wasn't the same for her side. So
Mhm.
it took a long time and a lot of discussion, maybe some with a little bit of tension, but it took a lot. And it's just, I think just in general, it's just being patient and understanding that we come from different perspectives and our life experiences are different.
Yeah.
So trying to see through other people's eyes.
Mhm. How was your reaction, Eileen, when you were asked to do that? Or
I knew it was something that I can't get around,
yeah.
but I wasn't happy that he did not like all of jump on board. But I mean, I should not expect less from him if I'm beginning to get to know his culture and I know that they go all out. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, that they said now in India you can't look at the scan for the sex because people are getting rid of their girl child because then they have to pay the bride price, right? And I think it's still a thing in India that you can't look at when it comes to the sex, you're not allowed, right? And so now when I look back, I kind of understand why he was upset, but I also felt upset that he wasn't like agreeing to it at the beginning. And unfortunately for him, he had no option, right? So he had to do it. So he just did it. And yeah, and then the unfortunate part again, we had to foot that bill. And I think that was the harder part for him, right? We had to foot that bill from here because we had to send the money for them to do all those stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, so.
Okay, my next question, any of you can respond to that. There is any stereotypes or misconceptions about your cultures that you have to confront as a couple?
So, this, I guess, I don't know whether I would call it a stereotype, but I think it's just the whole, and it's not maybe just me being black, but it's just the Indian culture whereby they don't really marry from outside of their race, right? And I think that they, for some reason, and this is my thinking, I don't know, they think that maybe they are of a higher race, that they can't mingle their blood. In which I don't understand why it's that way. And I mean, it's not my place to understand, but to just know that this is their culture and accept it. But the whole not marrying from a different race, it's just some kind of a thing that I don't agree with, or I don't really know where that is coming from. Again.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, just in I think in India's history, there's a caste system, obviously, so that's really influenced a lot of people, even though it's not really supposed to be followed to this day, but still it influences people's thinking and all of that. So I think as us kind of coming together and finding each other despite those differences, it provides, a beacon that things can be different now, right?
Yeah, okay. My next question, have you encountered any language barriers, and if so, how have you overcome that in your relationships?
Language barriers. I would say not necessarily. Again, when it comes to just the two of us, because I come from Ghana, colonized by the British, English is my first language, but I speak or Ghana, we speak a ton of dialects. Every region, we've got about 10, 12 regions which have districts in them. And every district have their own dialect. Some of them similar, some of them not similar, right? But English is our first language. Like, how is that possible? But so English was kind of like something that we could speak, so we didn't have to deal with like English not being our second language. Maybe, yeah, my grammar, I might have some few grammar mistakes because again, like growing up, we have a ton of dialects that everybody speaks. So even though the English is only in school, but when I get home, I'm speaking a different dialect, and so it makes it a bit. So I might have some grammar errors, and that would have been the only barrier that we had. But we
The
could speak.
grammar, but also I'd say like when she's
accent.
talking with her family, I don't understand because they're speaking their language. Likewise, when my parents talk with each other or with their extended family, she's kind of left out. So we just try and make that effort to always speak in a common language.
Yeah.
And now about the kids, do you teach them both of your languages?
So, it is sad for us
Yeah.
because even though what he's left out is that he said when they're speaking, my parents, not him, because he's not so he can understand a little bit of Punjabi, but I don't rely on him to translate anything because he's not going to
He's
be.
one here.
Yeah, and
one
his
here.
his parents. The funny story is that they might be the best people to speak. But what my understanding was, they said because when they came from India, it was very like small community, and they were trying so hard not to make the kids lose in like the English, and so they did not speak Punjabi that much to them at home. So that's how these guys. A lot of the Indian groups that we like, family and friends groups that we have, a lot of the kids speak English. But his parents didn't. Speak Punjabi, but his parents didn't speak much to them, and so they've lost a lot of that. Right now, we haven't done any because if he had spoken Punjabi, maybe we could have introduced it to them. I don't speak any Ghanaian language to them because, again, I think I shouldn't say because. That's an excuse. But I don't speak any Ghanaian language to them. But I wish if I had an immediate family nearby, maybe that would have pushed me to teach the boys, and that would have helped. So that is the unfortunate part for us when it comes to language. So we mostly speak English. Maybe if I want to say, like call them, like I say it in Punjabi, or if I'm mad, I will yell at them in my dialect, which is Frafra, or any Ghanaian dialect, you know, that kind of a thing. So
But they are in French immersion, so you can take them to Rwanda.
No, right.
Yeah.
yeah, and they can take us across the border and we speak French. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay, how do you approach handling cultural misunderstandings or miscommunication?
I'd say like we just again is keeping that open mind, especially when now as we've been together a while, like we start to understand. Okay, this is a cultural thing. We're going to come at it from different perspectives. So just trying to explain each other's point of view.
Yeah, and I think just learning to, you know, like figure out things. Like even if you have a misunderstanding and you're mad at that time, you can afterwards maybe look into it in a way. I don't know how you would maybe ask somebody, even though I've never done that, but just look into it and figure out. And thank God we have Google. You know, don't rely on it so much, but just try and figure out what is this about this culture that I was having a problem with, and then figure it out that way. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
Children, how do you raise your children with appreciation of both cultures?
Oh, interesting. So I think what I would say to that is we have a lot of the time we've celebrated a lot of Indian festivals, like a lot. And like with now also living in Victoria, and Victoria becoming a bigger culture, a place for Black people, we've started introducing like especially the Ghanaian community have come together, and I'm kind of part of the leaders there, and so I make sure that they attend all of those things, and that's the way we are introducing culture to them. But mainly is the Indian side, I would say that that is taking the forefront, because his parents are here, his dad's sister is here, he's got a bigger this thing
We
here.
have those traditions from my childhood that
So,
we've kind of
carried it forward, yeah.
My next question will go to Monique. Like, what challenges or joys do you anticipate when it comes to passing on your traditions to your kids? Like language or any other traditions?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's nice to have two sets of traditions, right? So
Yeah.
more holidays to celebrate.
Yeah.
They get double of everything, so that's great. I think the most important thing isn't something tangible like that. It's more just an appreciation that they'll grow up as adults knowing that there's different ways to look at the world, and they're able to have a more open mind and approach things better. I just think they'll make the world a better place.
That's
Yeah,
great.
that's great. Yeah.
My next question is the one I'm dying to hear an answer from you guys. How do you respond to external perceptions or reactions from society when they see you together in public as a couple?
You know what? I have a lot to say about that. The reason why is that I stand out and I recognize that, right? And so again, for me in Victoria, and I don't want to claim this, but I can say I'm probably the only black person married to an Indian guy, right? And so I stand out. So when I find myself in the Indian temple, and a lot of the time, back earlier on when I first moved here, it gets to me and I feel uncomfortable. And I grew up with so many things that still I'm dealing with that I was like having trouble with it. But now I just ignore. Or if I see you, you're staring at me and it's so uncomfortable, I just move on. Like I'm so comfortable within my in the Indian community right now that I just ignore anything. Even though I'm not saying it's not there, like new people who come don't know me. I can tell you a story. So I used to go to Punjabi's class, like they do teach Punjabi at the temples, all the 3 temples. So I was going to one. And so when I went the first time, you see this black woman with her kid coming in, and then the lady is staring at me and when people stare, they don't stare and hide. They stare and look at you. Again, sorry, but I think it's an Indian thing. They just, I'm like, what is that? Just blink a little bit. And so but then the next thing she saw another Indian lady who walks up to me and start talking to me like one of mom's friends, sister, who was talking to me. And then she knew that I know somebody, or she kind of put the connection. Again, seeing my kids, you can't tell if they're Indian or not unless I'm walking with him. So that was the thing. But then once they see that I'm talking to somebody that I know in the community, then she started loosen up, and then her body language changed. And afterwards, like I don't even recognize her. She sees me out and she calls me. So long story short, how do I navigate this? I just ignore, and you get used to it. As time, like I've just gotten used to it. Or I don't care what you're doing. You're staring. You're doing whatever. I don't care, and then I move on, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
How about you, Manny? Does that bother you at all if somebody's
bother me?
staring at you both?
No, the innocuous thing, like we're having this interview because we're somewhat different, right? And so we're going to be different out there, and people will take notice of us and look at us and whatever. That's just part of our stage in society right now, is that this is still not totally normal. So until it gets normalized, until more people see us and people like us, it will still be different. And I try not to blame them in my mind.
Do you feel like it's getting better now compared to the past?
Yes.
Yes.
Victoria's grown a lot. It's become more multicultural.
And you know, not even the multicultural aspect of it, but like this. It's now getting normal that people are getting used to it, or even like the uncomfortableness of it when it comes to you're not even a family member, but outside people, how they felt. It's no more like that. Like they just see you and they see you as one of them. You like when I walk into an Indian temple and I do all the things they do, it's becoming normal. So even if they see another person doing it, they're like, oh, this is normal, you know. So it's definitely becoming
Okay, my next question is for you, Eileen. I want to ask you this by coming from a different cultural background. What core values or beliefs do you both share to make your relationship staying strong?
Good question. So the core values, I would say, is the family, right? Because Indians are very like family oriented. They are very close knit. You know, they are mostly extended family than the nuclear, whereby it's just mother, father, and children, that's it. They are more extended, which is one thing that it is in Ghanaian culture. Like my auntie, my uncle, my father's brothers, uncles, that, you know, that kind of a thing. And we are all the big one family. You know, the other thing is that, which I never experienced it, but thank God I didn't have to, because I don't want to have to deal with any family drama whereby you all live under the same roof. But growing up from a poor place, I did experience that. And it's just a culture in Ghana whereby everybody, like, we all live in the same house, you know. Even sometimes you sleep in the same room, sleep on the floor, everybody is like crawling in the same corner and stuff like that. So that's one thing. And I think one other thing is religion. So Indians, I would say, again, I'm not speaking for Indians or I'm not speaking for you, but I think that they are religious, which is, it is in my home country, whereby everybody is somewhat of a religion. We don't have what we call atheists in Ghana at all, even though there is maybe sometimes now, but there is nothing like it. And that's the similarities that I see in both of our cultures. I don't know if you have anything more to add, but that's what so that's it.
Do you guys find any Indian or Ghanaian culture that have some similarities versus something different? Like, you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. You know, I think we've already touched on it, but it's mostly the celebrations. Like, Ghanaians, we love like celebrations. We love everything is a celebration. If you want, Google up Ghanaian celebrations, and funeral is a celebration. Right? You see us like we go all out. We somehow, I call it misplaced priorities, whereby we just spend the money on the funeral. But that's how we just like celebration, just like the Indian. Every day is this celebration, every day is that festival, every day is that. That's just the thing. And food is a common thing. Like Ghana, we love to, like, we have a different variety of cuisines, a lot of flavors. Some good flavor, some not good to other people, but to us is good. Like some of the things that sometimes some of my friends here, we talk about is like, I want to cook the food and smell the stinkiness, like the fish and the stinkiness. Which in Indian culture, they do cook a lot of spices. You walk across, sometimes you walk by an Indian person and they smell curry, like all those kind of, you know, right? And it's just like that in Ghanaian culture. So food is also another similar thing. And I don't know what else. The one thing that I also realized that Indians, you guys do, which is common in Ghana, is respect for elders, right? So in Ghana, like, if you were my big sister, whether we are family or not family, I can't call you by your name. I have to add some kind of a title. It's the same in Indian culture. Like, older sister, you have to add a title, or even if not your family, but somebody who is old enough to be an auntie, or you have to add something. So that's one thing I love. Even though when I first got here, you go into the bus, and then you see adults standing, and then some kid is just sitting on the bus and scrolling there like this phone. And I'm like, where did the adults go in this? Like, where did they go wrong? But that's one thing that I think, that we share. Yeah, not one thing, a lot. But what do you think?
I agree. We totally share that. Yeah, that's one of the big values. The other one is just trying to do things for the community. Rather, it's more community oriented rather than individual. Absolutely.
Okay, so my next question comes to you, Mani. What advice would you give to a similar couple like yours so that they can have their marriage, their relationship strong as yours?
Well, I think despite wanting to focus on each other and internally, that's one big focus, and everyone's going to have to navigate themselves. But typically, no couple lives in a vacuum. That they each have families and communities that they're a part of before they became a couple. So just understanding the dynamics there and trying to talk with people individually first a little bit before, hey, by the way, I'm getting married, and here she is. Just trying to understand, letting other people understand where you're coming from, what's going to be happening, instead of springing this big surprise on them all at once. And from there, you can really talk with people one-on-one about what they're concerns might be. And hey, you know what? If somebody is all of a sudden you find out that Uncle John is a racist, well, at least you know now, and you don't have to expose your spouse to that
So
person.
when you talk about other people, you're talking about family,
friends. Yeah.
You know what? I was going to add to that. And I think once you talk to them and you kind of let them know so you don't spring it up on them, I would say once you get yourself, because you would not decide whether you're going to go ahead to get married or not based on their reaction. You're still going to go, unless of course that reaction is so strong that you can't do without their approval, then that's a different case. But if you once you give them the information, hey, by the way, I'm bringing this Miss Naomi Campbell to our family, then you go ahead. What I would say is that once you become a couple, just try and embrace your differences, right? And learn to understand each other's culture. However, one thing I would say is that try to set boundaries. I have seen a couple, again, she's on social media and I stumbled upon her. The reason why I really liked her approach was because she's Indian, her husband is black, somewhere in the States, and she popped out a lot of kids. And I think all her kids, even up to her 20th, 25-year-old, something like that, they don't know they're her parents. So she set boundaries, she cut them off. I'm not saying cut them off, that's definitely an extreme way, but if it becomes toxic, then you need to set boundaries, and if you have to do that, then do that, if that works for you. If it doesn't, then find a different way. But I mean, the point is just set boundaries, right? And be patient, like I told you that. For me, I was very uncomfortable when I saw people looking at me when I'm in Indian gatherings, because I'm towering over everybody and I'm just so different, right? But then they see me walking with this guy. And now I'm so comfortable with them looking because I just gave it time. And as time went on, I got used to it. So if you are patient, the other way, whosoever is it, the one or the, like, just be patient and let it run its course. And people get used to you and they know you. Trust me, it's going to be fine. You just be like one of them. They probably see you and they think you look like them, right? Because you dress like them, so you look like them. Yeah, but that's just, yeah.
Okay. So what has been the most rewarding aspect of being interracial couple for you guys?
Amazing cooking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, she's an excellent cook. But no, just the exposure to different things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, life is boring if you're just looking at it through one lens. If you get these other lenses, you get to celebrate other things, and you take an interest in what goes on in other communities, politics and, you know, sports and all that stuff. You know, Ghana's football team is my favorite now. I'm always cheering for them, and it's just fun. It's fun to have a bigger perspective.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. You just get to learn. Like I said, I walked into this very green. I wasn't young, but I was so green to the point that I didn't know anything about Indian culture. Even though growing up in Ghana, we loved Indian movies. Oh, we loved Indian movies. But I didn't know anything about Indian culture. And so now I get to know a lot about Indian culture. I get to know what happens. Sometimes, a lot of the time, people these days who've known me for a while now, some of them think that I understand Punjabi. So sometimes they're very careful what they say around me. Because they think that I understand, even though I don't understand, you know, but I don't understand. Sometimes they're like, oh, you speak Punjabi now, right? Because they heard me say one word and think I speak Punjabi. So that's a good thing. And, you know, I just think that, I just lost my thought here. But I just think that it's definitely a rewarding thing to be in, because then we get to experience different things. He tends to hang out with my black people a lot. Like he knows a lot of black guys in Victoria here, and even back home he has quite a few. So quick story. When he took up a job with the Clinton Foundation and went to Swaziland, Swaziland is a very small country south of Africa. And you wouldn't believe it, Swaziland's population is about 1.2 million as of the time we were there. But there's a lot of expatriates there. And there's a lot of people who migrate there for greener pastures, including Ghanaians and Nigerians. So there was a big Ghanaian community. And he found himself there. He just was at home. Wow, okay. He still has a WhatsApp group. and they are kind of a bunch of old people, like saying nasty stuff, and then he's a part of them now. That's the reward of interracial, like he finds himself in that, and he knows how to eat Ghanaian food very well. I know how to cook Indian food, and it's just a plus. You get a beautiful Naomi Campbell, and then you get everything.
That's right. All positive.
That's right. And now looking back at your journey of the last 15 years, what has been the most surprising lesson that you have learned about your love and acceptance?
The most surprising lesson.
You know what? I would go. But I didn't know that I would leave my home country and journey across 1,000 miles just for a guy and having to change a lot of things somehow. Not in a bad way, but a lot of things about myself that I have changed in terms of just having to adjust so I can fit into his world, And I'm assuming it's the same thing. And I didn't know I could do that. So that's one thing that I think, and also I again, even though I don't like to say I'm old, I think I've grown a lot. I've grown a lot to be more accepting because I'm on the receiving end of it, right? And so now I know how it feels. So you need to really, and I don't think that people should have to be me, like to experience something to be accepted, right? And that's the thing I would say, because I'm more accepting of people. I'm more accepting because now I accept you with all your flaws, right?
Which flaws? No, I'd say the most surprising thing is, I think it actually applies to any couple, is just what you had in mind in the beginning 15 years ago. People grow and change in different ways. So it's a matter of like continually adapting to each other and understanding their perspective, even though it might have changed from 5 years ago.
What an amazing story you guys have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much sharing with us about your journey. It's incredible. I learned a lot to hear from your stories. Plus, knowing you guys for so long, it's incredible to have you as friends. And hearing your story and sharing with the viewers that hear about your journey, it shows us that racism is real. Like your story tells us that mutual respect and understanding is the key to prejudice. So each one of us can do the same. I think we can live in a better place for everybody. And I hope you guys learned something from them. And let's keep building this legacy together. Thank you so much. God bless.